Hello, I'm Ali Reza Fakiraveri, the Director of APPEs at Loma Linda University School of Pharmacy, and this is an overview of student evaluations on Core Elms. When you log into your account on Core Elms, one of the options you have on the left-hand side is Evaluations. So when you click on Evaluations, then you can click on Evaluation of Student. And then depending on what students you have on rotation at the time, you will have options for evaluating your students. Let's take a look at the midpoint evaluations. Our midpoint evaluations are essentially identical for IPPEs and APPEs and for any type of rotation. Now this is a demo, so what you see on the screen says test only student. On your account, you will see the name of the student that is on rotation with you. So I'm going to click on Midpoint Preceptor Evaluation of Student for the student. You can verify the name of your student at the top of the page to make sure that you are completing the evaluation for the correct student. And then you can see that in general, there are 4 major areas for evaluation. And each area has supporting examples to help you figure out what items fall under each category. On a given item, if your student is on track to achieve sufficient growth by end of rotation, you can click on satisfactory progress. Otherwise, you can click on unsatisfactory progress, which will place the student at risk of insufficient growth by the end of rotation. For each of these 4 categories, you have a comment box, so you can type what specifically the students can do in order to grow sufficiently by the end of rotation. If for some reason you click on not applicable, you will see a pop-up box that says the option you selected requires a comment. What essentially this means is that you have to document why this item was not applicable. For example, it can be something that although you normally have this on your rotation, the student did not have the opportunity to participate, or depending on the nature of rotation, you can explain why this item was not observable on your rotation. In other words, if the student is having satisfactory progress, this comment box on the right-hand side are optional. It will be helpful if you add them, but if you click on not applicable, they are required. And then when you scroll down, you will see 2 required comment box at the bottom. So the first comment box essentially asks you to write what the student did well over the first half of the rotation, and the second box is what student can do for the remainder of rotation in order to improve. And these 2 boxes are required. Scrolling further down, you will see that there is an option for is the student currently at risk of failing, yes or no. Answering yes to this question does not negatively penalize the student. This really is intended to bring alertness to the student that they are really at risk of failing, so they should take your feedback more seriously and really increase their efforts for the remainder of the rotation in order to improve their performance and meet your expectations in order to pass the rotation successfully. And we encourage you to really use this to help students pass the rotation successfully. This also alerts our office so that we can provide extra support to you as well as extra support to students to make sure that their needs are met in order to meet your expectations and pass the rotation successfully. So we really encourage you to use this to help students. The last question is, did the preceptor and student meet to review and discuss the evaluation? So we highly encourage you to meet in person with students, either virtually or in person, to discuss this in person in order to have an active engagement in evaluation. You have the option to save what you have typed and return to it to work on it later. And when you are done, you can click submit, and that will finalize the midpoint evaluation. You also have the option to print and download what you have typed for the student at Midpoint at the top of the page. Now let's take a look at end of rotation evaluation of students. For the purpose of demonstration, I'm going to use APPE Adult Medicine Preceptor Evaluation, but there is a large overlap between different rotation types. When you open the end of rotation evaluation, you can verify the name of your student at the top of the page to make sure you are evaluating the correct student. And then when you scroll down, you will see that there are a number of items on this evaluation form. And each item is graded on different levels. So we have levels defined at the top of the form. So we have level 1, which is observer, level 2, which essentially means perform under direct supervision. Level 3 means perform under indirect supervision. Level 4 means perform independently under minimal supervision. And level 5, which is the maximum level, is perform independently. In this example, the first item is collect information to identify a patient's medication-related problems and health-related needs. Now, there are a list of example supporting tasks. This does not necessarily mean that the student should have done all of these lists. This is essentially giving you some examples of what could account for this item. And the list is not comprehensive. So there may be other things that students may have done depending on your rotation setting that could count as this. But these examples are meant to help you decide that. So for each item, you have the option to grade the student on level 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5. And there is a comment box, so you can give students specific feedback for this item specifically. The comment is required if you click on not applicable. So, we would like to know why this item was not applicable. Either it's something that you routinely do on your rotation, but the student just didn't have the chance to participate in, or it could be that due to the nature of your rotation, this item is just not feasible or not available to students. So we would like to know that that's the reason not applicable. Now, if you click unacceptable on any of these items, it results in automatic failure of the rotation. So we really would like to not see unacceptable, but occasionally this occurs, and we would like to know why the student had unacceptable performance on this item. And we anticipate that this will be a rare event. So essentially, majority of students will be graded on level 1 through level 5. And so this was the first item. Then you move on to the second item. And again, each item will have a list of example of supporting tasks, and then you can grade student on the next item and continue the process through every item. Now, the number of items, which is a maximum of 15, depends on the type of rotation. So different types of rotation have the items that apply to that setting. So for example, community pharmacy will have 15 items, whereas acute care rotations will have only 11 items, just as an example. All elective rotations will also have 15 items just to maximize the possibilities. But of course, you can click not applicable if something does not apply to your rotation. Now, when you finish grading every item, at the bottom of the form, you will see 3 boxes that are again required. So these are the 3 boxes that are required. The first one is what specifically did the student do well. So you would want to give some positive encouragement to the student. And then the second one is what specifically can the students improve on. So this is where you can give them, what areas they can improve moving forward. And of course, the last one is overall feedback, including if you want to wish students well in the future endeavors, this would be the box for that. And then once you go down, although the student may have passed your rotation, this question asks, do you have concerns that this student might struggle on future rotations? And this is extremely important to us because the student may have been borderline passing on your rotation, and this will alert us so we can basically provide extra support to students so that they can be successful in their future rotations. And this will be confidential. So if you say yes to this, This is confidential. This student will not find out that you said yes to this. This will only alert our office so that we can provide support to students. So we highly encourage you that, although the student may have passed your rotation, to answer this question carefully so that we can help students grow. And then lastly, assuming that the student did not have an unsatisfactory on any of the items, because unsatisfactory on any item will result in automatic failure. For APPEs, the student needs an average of 2.5 out of the 5 levels to successfully pass the rotation. So the average score has to be at least 2.5 in order to successfully pass. And that's reflecting the 5 levels. So there is level 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So essentially level 1 will give 1 point, level 2 will give 2 points, and so forth. And we are looking for an average of 2.5 out of 5 for successful completion. And again, if the student has unsatisfactory on any item, the score doesn't matter. The average no longer matters. It will be automatic failure. And when you are done, of course, you can submit, but you also have the option to save your progress and return to it at a later time when your schedule allows to finish the evaluation and then submit. And similar to Midpoint, at the top of the page, you can actually print or download the evaluation for your record. Now, all APPE end of rotation preceptor evaluation of students will be graded on 5 levels, and an average of 2.5 will be required for pass. IPPE evaluations are similar to APPE. One major difference is the number of levels. So IPPE 1, either community 1 or institutional 1, only allows you to grade out of 3 levels, and an average of 1.5 out of 3 will be required for successful pass. And IPPE 2, either community 2 or institutional 2, will be graded out of 4 levels. So you will have options level 1 through 4, and an average of 2.0 out of the 4 levels will be required for successful passing of the rotation. So as an example, let's take a look at IPPE Community 1 Preceptor Evaluation of Students. So when you click this, you get this form similar to APPE evaluation. So again, at the top of the page, you can verify the name of the student. And then you will see that there are items followed by example supporting tasks. And on each item, you can basically, since this is IPPE 1, grade the student on level 1, 2, and 3. So level 4 and 5 are no longer available here because these are introductory experiences. And again, you have unacceptable as an option. So if you click unacceptable, this results in automatic failure of students, and then you will be required to type a comment for this item. And if you click not applicable, also a comment is required explaining why this item was not applicable. So either this option is not feasible or available to students on your rotation, or that this is something routinely available, but during this time the student just did not have an opportunity to participate. We'd like to know that. But otherwise, if you click level 1, 2, or 3, the comment is optional. It would be nice to give some feedback to students, but it will not be required. And then at the bottom of the form, you do have the 3 boxes that are required. So one box is for what the student specifically did well during rotation, and one box is what the student specifically can do to improve moving forward. And the last box is overall feedback for the student. And again, we have this confidential box or question where you can, alert our office if the student is, might struggle on future rotation, even though they passed your rotation at this time. And again, the student will not find out if you click yes on this question. And since this is IPPE 1, an average score of 1.5 will be required to successfully pass the rotation. And if this was IPPE 2, essentially you will have one more column here for level 4. So then for each item, you will have 4 levels available to grade the student, and then the average would have to be at least a 2.0 to pass. Now, at any time, if you have any questions about these evaluations, or if you need assistance accessing these evaluations and completing them, we are always available to support you. And as always, thank you for precepting our students and helping them become excellent pharmacists.